What's up, family? Damien Jones podcast, where you'll find the best conversation in America. I want to have a quick conversation about Brandon Marshall and his most recent comments on his wonderful podcast, along with Chad Johnson, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor. I Am an Athlete, I think, which is a great show. And you have some great former NFL athletes with great guests, and they come on and they give their perspective. So I think it's a really good show. Folks, make sure you are subscribing right now. Need a subscriber right now. Should be you. Like the broadcast. Leave your comments down below as well. But in a recent episode of the show, Brandon Marshall, great NFL receiver, who is, I guess he's kind of the main moderator of the show. In my opinion, he's not a good moderator. I think he wants all the attention to be about him. I think he cuts people off. I don't think he's good in that role. Okay. I really don't think he's good in that role. And I have license to say that because I am a talking head and I moderate conversations as well. But I want you to hear Brandon's comments here. This is what he said, I think yesterday or 2 days ago in the show 2 days ago.
Y'all talking about because y'all talking about the NBA. Everybody got guaranteed contracts, and it's false. They don't. Searching this. And I'm telling you, it's the truth. No, they don't. Not everybody that's on the NBA roster have a guaranteed.
There's two-way contracts. There's two-way contracts.
No, it's not.
And then there's the top dog. There's the top dog.
No, it's not. There's 4 guys on the NBA team that got guaranteed contracts, and everybody else can be cut today and don't get nothing.
And don't have land dime.
Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed.
So who has a better structure, the NBA or the NFL?
Everything y'all said is what I'm saying. It's now you finally got the Russell Wilsons of the world finally saying something.
So Brandon Marshall, so they were having a spirited conversation as it relates to NFL and NBA contracts, which is a conversation that you hear all the time. So in the NFL, the contracts are short-lived because there's high risk. Guys can get hurt for long periods of time by way of one hit. The owners don't let them sign long-term contracts, and they don't make long investments in the players because one hit in the NFL and a guy's career is over. Now in the NBA, because it's not a high impact sport, you don't see a lot of career ending injuries, head injuries, leg injuries, so forth and so on. A guy can sprain his ankle, he'll be back in 10 days, something like that. Or tear a ligament, he's back in a year and still be fine. So the NBA and the Major League Baseball have longer contracts and more money. So that's why you see Steph Curry signing for $300 million, James Harden $250 million, some marginal players getting $100, $200 million 10-year contracts. And every dime in that contract is guaranteed. If you get hurt, if you sign a 7-year contract and you get hurt in year 1, they have to pay you every dime for the next 6 years. That's how it works in basketball. Now, unless you're on a 2-way contract between the G League and the NBA, something like that, maybe those aren't guaranteed. Maybe it's a 10-day contract. Maybe that isn't guaranteed. But every other contract in the NBA, once it's signed, they owe you every dime in it. So Brandon is arguing with great frustration, with great certainty, that NBA contracts are not guaranteed. And he even said, you heard him say, only 4 guys on the NBA roster have guaranteed contracts. My friends, Brandon couldn't be any more wrong. He couldn't be any more wrong. And all he had to do was Google this information. He is an NBA contract scholar. I get it. Many of us aren't. I particularly know that information because I dig into the details and the weeds of this kind of stuff. But to argue that point as though Channing and Chad Johnson and others don't know what the hell they're talking about. You got three people saying that you're wrong and you're saying you're right, and you're yelling to the top of your lungs with veins popping out of your head. This is my problem with the Brandon Marshalls of the world. And I know many of you have that friend, that family member who is the loudest in the room when you're trying to have a civil conversation, the loudest about a point, yelling to the top of their lungs, can't let anybody else get a point out, but they're wrong. But they are wrong. People, loud doesn't negate facts. Loud doesn't make you right. Loud only makes you look obnoxious and like an idiot. And Brandon today is going viral because he looks like a complete idiot for being a talking head on a sports-related show and not having information about sports. Now, it's okay to be wrong, but don't be loud, belligerent, and obnoxious and wrong. And one of the critiques that I have of that show, and many others say this, that Brandon thinks he's smarter than everybody else on the show. Okay, he wears his eclectic gear. He has an eclectic haircut. He thinks he's this Renaissance man. But apparently Mr. Renaissance doesn't do his research. Damien Jones podcast, talking about Brandon Marshall and his blog. I mean, but how many of you have friends like this who are loud and wrong? This is the problem. We live in a world now where you can't have civil conversations with people about anything, be it politics, be it sports, be it cooking, be it fashion or whatever. Everybody feels like they have to be right. But who cares about being right? Oftentimes, just take in other people's perspective, right? My perspective is my perspective. Your perspective is your perspective. We don't always have to be right. But when it comes to facts, you can't argue facts. Facts are facts. And the fact is, NBA contracts are guaranteed every dime. Major League Baseball contracts are guaranteed every dime. NFL contracts are not guaranteed. They can sign you today and cut you next week and don't owe you anything, right? Don't owe you anything. So the lesson in what I'm saying here today, people, is if you're going to be loud, be right. If you're going to be loud, do your research. If you're going to be wrong, I mean, listen, we're wrong. Everybody's wrong sometimes. But don't go down being wrong, looking like an idiot and not being able to listen to the points of view of other people. And I think that is a great show that they have. I think it's a great show. But I think if there's any critique I have of it, that show may eventually dissolve because of Brandon Marshall. I watch the show. I like the show. But I cringe oftentimes watching Brandon Marshall cut off the guests, don't let them finish their point. He's like Steve Harvey. Brandon reminds me of what Steve Harvey did during the Versus the other night. It's all about him. You're supposed to be talking about an uplifting Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers, but Steve had a story, everything about him as though it was a Steve Harvey hour. And I feel like Brandon wants I Am Athlete to be the Brandon Marshall hour. And I can see the frustration in Fred Taylor and Chad Johnson and Channing's face, as though their perspectives don't matter. And he is the guy. Now, listen, that particular clip is going to bring a lot of ratings to that show. And I'm going to go watch the full episode again. But don't be loud all the time. Listen to what other people have to say. You can actually learn something. You can actually learn something. Don't be belligerent. Don't be loud. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be an idiot like Brandon Marshall was in that particular clip. Tell me what you think down in the comments. I want to know, do you think Brandon was justified in what he's saying? Do you think he was right? Do you think NFL contracts actually are not guaranteed? Did he have a point there? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe as well. This is the Damien Jones Podcast.